Alrighty, and we're back. We're back, people. Hey, let's see here, huh? Were you thinking about it, huh? Were you thinking about, what the GCF is there, eh? Between, x to the negative third and x, to the fifth power. What's the GCF? Huh? What's the GCF there? Right, between x to the negative third and x to the fifth. You take the smaller of the two, right? Out. Negative 3, smaller than 5, right? X to the negative third. Right? X to the negative third is your GCF between, right? X to the negative third and x to the fifth power. Now, yeah, let's do the 2 and the 8 also, but I figure I'd start there, right? All right, 2 and 8. All right, 2 and 8. The GCF between 2 and 8 is 2. All right. 2 is the greatest common factor between 2 and 8. So 2x to the power of negative 3 is the GCF. Right? Factor that out. Right? Factor that out here. And divide both terms, right? Divide both terms here by the GCF, right? To get the remaining factor. 2 divided by 2 there, right? 2 over 2 is 1, right? Don't forget about that. Not 0, people. 1. Plus 8x to the fifth divided by 2x to the power of negative 3, right? Because those x to the negative 3s, by the way, if you go back to the first term, those cross out. I mean, and once again, when I say cross out, they cross out to 1, right? X to the negative third divided by x to the negative third is x to the 0 power, right? If you subtract those exponents, negative 3 minus a negative 3, is x to the 0, which is 1. Listen, if you want to put 1x to the 0 there, fine. Or x to the 0, right? I'm just going to put a 1, with that first term divided. Eight x to the fifth now, divided by 2x to the power of negative 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. X to the fifth over x to the power of negative 3. Let's see here. Right, 8 divided by 2 is 4. x5 divided by x to the negative third, right? Subtract the exponents if you want to, right? Do that, right? You can use that route. Is x to the 5 minus negative 3, right? 5 minus negative 3 is 5 plus 3, so it's x to the 8th, right? X to the 8th. All right, so here we go, right? Now we have to do a little bit of some more work here because we do have a negative exponent. We need to make it we need to make this positive, right? It says without fractional or negative exponents. So we got to do a little location change, right? X to the power of negative 3, we'll move that to the denominator, you know? So we're going to have 2 parentheses 1 plus 4x to the 8th over x to the power of 3. And that is your answer, people. All right, that is your answer to number 3. That's without fractional or negative exponents. All right. Let's jump down to number 5. You know, once again, I don't need to do all of these here. So I'll skip 4. Let's take a look at number 5. So the way we're going to factor this, guys, is GCF, right? It says here in the directions, factor each expression, right? Don't take the negative exponent and make it positive first. That's a common mistake. Factor the expression first, right? And how are we going to do that? GCF action, right? Okay. So 14 and 7, right? The GCF. Yeah, the GCF there is 7. Right? 7 is the biggest number that goes into both 14 and 7. And then you have x to the power of negative 3 and x to the power of 2. So you take the smaller of the 2 out, right? X to the power of negative 3 comes out. Right? The smaller of the 2. Negative 3 is smaller than 2. Okay? So that comes out. That's your GCF. Divide each term by the GCF to get the remaining factor. 14 over 7 is 2. X to the negative third, x to the negative third. They cross out. Remember, they cross out to 1, not 0. Minus 7 divided by 7 is 1. x2 over x to the negative third. I'm using the subtraction of the exponents here. Top exponent minus the bottom exponent. Right, that's the rule. Top minus the bottom. So it's minus 1 if you want to put, right, put it there. 1 x 2 minus negative 3. 2 minus a negative 3 is 2 plus a positive 3. Right? Minus 1x to the 5th. All right, so here we go. Once again, we have a negative exponent. We want to make that positive. A little location change. So 7 parentheses 2 minus 1x to the 5th, which I'll just write as minus x to the 5th over x to the power of 3. All right, is your answer there to number 5, people, okay? Now I want to do let's do 7. Number 7, people, next one, okay? All right. So biggest number you can divide 24 and 6 by is 6. Now you have x to the negative 5th and x to the power of negative 2 now. Ooh, 2 negatives. Take out the smaller of the 2. Which one's smaller? Is negative 5 smaller than negative 2? Or is negative 2 smaller than negative 5, right? Put it on that number line if you need to, right? Further left you go, the smaller the number gets, right? Negative 5 is smaller than negative 2, right? So we're taking out a 6x to the power of negative 5. That is your GCF. 6x to the power of negative 5. Let's divide, right, each term by that to get the remaining factor. (24) divided by 6 is 4. X to the negative 5s cross out. Remember, they cross out to 1. Minus 6 over 6 is 1. So minus 1. X to the power of negative 2 over x to the power of negative 5 is x to the power of negative 2 minus negative 5. Negative 2 minus negative 5 is negative 2 plus a positive 5, isn't it? So that's going to be negative 2 plus 5, so minus 1x to the power of 3. All right, so, once again, negative exponent here, x to the power of negative 5. Bring it to the denominator. It'll become a positive 5. So we have 6 parentheses 4 minus 1x cubed, or minus x cubed here, over x to the 5th. That is your answer, all right, to number 7. All right, let me set you up here. All right, so we're doing more of the same, but I'll definitely get one example in here. So we're stepping it up here a little bit because now it's fractional exponents. Still the same process though. You take out the smaller of the 2. So we'll start this. All right, I won't get very far with it today, and then we'll pick it back up next time. All right, so once again, same process. There's really, there's nothing for me to explain here. I've already explained it. It's just with fractional exponents now. 4x to the power of a third plus 16x to the power of negative 4/3. Factor each expression, right? So, same deal. GCF is how we're going to factor it, right? 4 is the biggest number here in number 9. 4 is the biggest number that goes into both. terms. And you have x to the 1/3, and then that's a negative 4/3 there, x to the power of negative 4/3, right? X to the 3rd, and then x to the negative 4/3. The smaller of the two, right, is negative 4/3. 4x to the power of negative 4/3 is your GCF. And let's go and get the remaining factor now, right? 4 divided by 4 is 1x now. X to the 1/3 divided by x to the negative 4/3 is x to the 1/3 minus negative 4/3 power, people, right? Top exponent minus bottom exponent. So 1/3 minus a negative 4/3 is 1/3 plus 4/3 is 5/3, right? Add the tops, keep the bottoms, right? Keep the bottom. 16/4 here is 4, right? For the second term, x to the negative 4/3, x to the negative 4/3 crosses out, right? Remember, it crosses out to 1. All right, so a little bit more work here, right? X to the negative 4/3, we're going to move to the denominator, but we also now have to change that, right? That's a fractional exponent. They don't want fractional exponents. We got to change it to a radical, right? No big deal. Power over root. All right, so this is going to equal 4. X to the negative 4/3 will go to the bottom and become x to the 4/3. And now we're going to have to write that as a radical. 1x to the 5/3, that's a power over root, people, right? So that's 1, cube root of x to the 5th, right? Plus 4 over x to the 4/3, which I'm going to do a power over root on that because, once again, they don't want fractional exponents. So that's going to be over the cube root of x to the 4th. Once again, you can have the 4 on the inside there of the radical, or you can have it on the outside. It does not matter, people, all right? And that is your answer, all right, to number 9, people, all right? So there's a little taste. We'll do some of those, more of these here on this page next time, and then we'll do some of those guys